Looking at the review packet for solving systems of equations, we're going to start with graphing. If these are already in y equals form, we're just going to go ahead and put them right on the graph using our slope and intercept. So looking at equation number 1, we have an intercept of 1. That's going to be where our first point is, and then we're going to use our slope of 5, which again is 5 over 1, so up 5 over 1, which will not fit on this graph. It would be up here though. So we're going to have to go down 5, left 1. Right here. And then our other equation has an intercept of -3. And the coefficient there is 1, so it's 1 over 1. So it's up 1 over 1. And if I followed it backwards, it's going to hit right here. So that's our point of intersection. That's our ordered pair. That's the solution to this. So looking at, it's always an x comma y. X is -1. Y is -4. Okay, number 2. Intercept is 3. Slope is -1/2. Down 1 over 2. Up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. And the next one has an intercept of -1. And a slope of up 3 over 2. There's our point of intersection. Okay, so right there. And that is 0.22. All right, these at the bottom now are not in y equals form, so we have to get them there. Starting with the first one. Subtract 3x because we're trying to get y by itself, so 3x ends up on the other side as a negative. 8 was positive, so it's plus. Then you divide by the coefficient all the way across the board. That eliminates it, so y is by itself, -3/4 x, that's our slope, plus 2. So we are starting at 2, and we're going down 3 over 4. Up 3 over 4. Okay, next equation. So on this one, you could move the x, and then you're going to end up dividing by a negative on the y, and that's fine. So I'm going to do -x on both sides. Leaves me a -4y, -x plus 8. Divide by -4 all the way across the board. Y is by itself now. 2 negatives will make a positive. This is a 1 on top. This is a 1/4 x. This is going to create a negative. Positive divided by negative, so I'm going to write minus because it's -2. So we are starting at -2 based on my intercept, and we're going up 1 over 4. And right there you can see that's going to be our point of intersection. And the x value there is 4. The y value is -1. Moving on to number 4. Get y by itself, so move the x. And divide by -4. 2 negatives make a positive. It's 1/4 x. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and it's going to be a negative, so it's -1. So we're starting at -1 and going up 1 over 4, down 1, left 4. In my other equation, minus the x. Divide by -4. 2 negatives make a positive. And this is going to get a -4. Now right away, if you look, these have the same slope. Okay, that means they're going up at the same rate, which means unless they're sitting right on top of each other, they will be parallel and they're never going to cross. So this hits at -4, and it's going up 1 over 4, down 1, left 4. And so because they have the same slope, they are never going to cross, and so the answer here is no solution. Okay, to the back, we're going to use substitution. So we're going to find what y equals or x equals and plug it in to the other equation. So if y equals -5 minus 8, I can substitute that in for y. And now just solve this equation. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the smaller of the two x's. So that's 13x minus 5 now. Get negative 13. We're going to divide by 13. And so x is negative 1. Go back and plug it in, either equation. So I'm actually going to go to the second equation. Doesn't matter though. So y equals negative 8, plus 5. So y equals negative 3. Final answer, x comma y, negative 1 for x, negative 3 for y. Okay, number 6, same idea. Here's what y equals, plug it in right here. Smaller of the two x's, get rid of it. So that is negative 10x. So I am going to, let's see, something here is wrong. There we go. Okay, I was saying that when I move this 18, that's not going to be something that 10 divides into nicely. So I knew I made a mistake somewhere. So I wrote plus 6, and then I didn't write plus 6 here. I did my math right. Negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10, but I did not write the plus like I should have because this was negative. So negative 4 plus 6, that's going to be a positive 2x, not 10x. Okay, so now I can minus 18, leaving me 2x equals 6, divide by 2, x is 3. Going back and plugging it in, we'll go back to the first one, negative 4 times 3 plus 18, it's negative 12 plus 18, y equals 6, final answer, 3 comma 6. All right, now we get to these ones. We're going to also solve these by substitution, but they're not both in y equals form. So find the one that is in y equals form. You're going to use that because that's what y equals, and you're going to plug it in for y in the other equation. So it's 7 times y, so it's 7 times this whole quantity, 6x plus 23 equals 17. So I've rewritten this whole first equation and just changed y to 6x plus 23. Next step is going to be to distribute. And 7 times 23 gets me 161. Put these together. Now, don't try and minus them because they're both on the same side of the equal sign. If you're going to do a minus or a plus in both spots, it's got to be one on the right side of the equal sign, one on the left. These are on the same side, so you can't do that. Okay, you just combine them. So I got to minus this 161 to get it out of here. So 17 minus 161 is negative 144. We're going to divide that by 48. And x equals negative 3. Going back and plugging that in, I'm going to definitely go back to the second one. It's easier, but the other one will work. But no need to do that. So I'm going to get negative 18 plus 23, so y equals 5. Final answer, negative 3, 5. Number 8 is a unique one. We have y equals 8, so that is what y equals. So I can just plug it in for y in the other equation. So negative 4x minus, instead of y, it's 8, equals 12. Now it's just a straightforward problem. Plus 8 on both sides. And divide. X equals negative 5, and we already have what y is. We don't have to go back and plug this in. You could, if you plug it in this equation, you'll still get y equals 8. If you plug it in the second one, there's nowhere to plug it in up here because it's just y equals 8. That's your answer. Negative 5, 8. All right, and then our last skill, solving these by elimination. So we are going to combine our equations through addition when things can cancel out. And in this case, the x's will cancel because I have a positive 3 and a negative 3. So they cancel, and I just have to run the rest of my numbers. So this is going to be a 5y when you do 8 minus 3. And this is going to be a negative 10. So when I divide, y equals negative 2. And then I do still need to go back and plug that in and solve. So it's going to be, I'm going to use the first one, 3x plus 8 times negative 2 equals 2. So that's negative 16. Go ahead and add 16 to get it out of there. So 3x equals 18. X equals 6. Final answer, 6, negative 2. All right, this one sets up well. The y's will cancel. So it doesn't always have to be the x's or the y's. It's whatever sets up nicely for you. So since my y's are going to cancel, positive 6, negative 6, I'm going to add my x's. That's 7x. And then adding these, I get negative 7. Divide by 7, x equals negative 1. Going back and plugging it in, so 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. We're going to add 5. So 6y equals 6. Divide by 6, y equals 1. X is negative 1. Y is positive 1. All right, down to problem number 11. We don't have anything that's going to cancel because 2 negatives don't cancel, 2 positives don't cancel. So I need to change the signs on one of these. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by negative 1, which I'm just basically rewriting this with different signs. So negative 8 becomes, when I multiply by negative 1, positive 8x. Multiply by negative 1, that's negative 9y. Multiply by negative 1, that's positive 3. And so when I do that, now I'm going to combine these two equations. Negative 8, positive 8, cancel. Positive 9, negative 9, cancel. So this whole side cancels out. That's 0. And negative 3, positive 3 also cancels out. So that's 0. So since this is a true statement, this is one of those special cases, infinite solutions. Okay, rolling over to number 12. Okay, nothing to cancel right now because positive 4 doesn't cancel positive 4. So I'm going to multiply this whole equation by negative 1, which will create a negative 4x when I distribute here. And that's what I want. Now this will cancel. Be careful, make sure everything gets that negative 1. So this becomes positive 2y. This becomes positive 10. So my x's cancel. This is 4y. This is negative 12. This should be a negative 4y. Okay, negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4y. So when I divide here, it's by negative 4. That will create a positive 3. Going back and plugging that in, make sure you put it in for y. It's easy to go back and put it in for x on accident. So that's going to be 6. So it's going to say 4x minus 6. Add the 6. 4x equals negative 4. X equals negative 1. Final answer, negative 1, 3. Okay, we get to the next side. And now we don't have numbers that are the same that just need to be changed from positives to negatives. We've got things that are going to have to be multiplied in order to create something that cancels. So I see a 7 that I can make into a 14. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this by 2. I also need to check my signs and make sure that I'm not going to create 2 positives or 2 negatives. They need to be opposites. In this case, this will make a negative 14, which will cancel the positive 14. So I am good with just multiplying by 2 across the board. So 2 times negative 4 is going to be negative 8x. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14y. And that's what we were going for right there because this will cancel. And 2 times 0 is 0. So my y's will cancel. I do have x's here. It's going to be negative 18x equals 0. Divide by negative 18. Of course, we know the answer is just 0. Go ahead and plug 0 in for x. So negative 4 times 0. So that just goes away because it's 0. So I have minus 7y equals 0. Divide by negative 7. Y is also equal to 0, and that's okay. Final answer, 0, 0. Okay, 14. We've got options. I can try and change this x into a 3 so it cancels here. It would need to become a negative. And I could do the same thing with the 5 and the 15. Okay, multiplying by 3. But again, it's already negative, so I can't make a negative 15 because it won't cancel. I need a positive. So since they're both times by 3, that's where I'm going. But I need to change the signs, so I need it to be a negative 3. So negative 3 times x, negative 3x. Negative 3 here becomes positive 15y. And then don't forget this one. That's negative 15. Now I'm going to go ahead and add these two equations together. Cancel the x's, cancel the y's. Cancel your other side, 0, 0. This is infinite solutions. Again, if you get something like 0 equals 5, then that's no solution. All right, 15. Looking at these, not so easy to get the 4 and 9 the same, but I can get the 2 into a 10 real quick just by multiplying by 5. Now, if I just multiply by 5, that becomes a positive 10, which won't cancel this positive 10. I need it to be a negative 10, so I'm going to multiply by negative 5. Distribute. Negative 10x. Go right here. That's negative 20y. And right here, it's negative 20. So my x's will cancel. This is going to get me negative 11y. And this is going to be negative 33. Divide by negative 11. So y is positive 3 going up. 2x plus 4, substitute for y 3. So that's 12. Minus 12. So 2x equals negative 8. Divide by 2. X equals negative 4. Final answer, negative 4. Positive 3. Okay, and now we get to 16, where I can't multiply any of these to create the other. So I'm going to now have to multiply both equations to create something that is going to cancel. So you can always multiply them by each other. So I'm going to multiply this top one by 2, which will create a 14. I'm going to create multiply by 7 on the bottom, which will create a negative 14. So I'll get a positive 14, a negative 14. So just multiplying by these numbers. So let's see what happens. I'm going to get 14x. I'm going to get 18y. And I'm going to get 58. I'm going to get negative 14x. I'm going to get positive 14y. And 7 times 22. I'm going to get negative 154. Okay, my x's cancel. This is going to be 32y. And then negative 154 plus 58. Negative 96 divided by 32 is going to get me negative 3. Going back and plugging in, that's y. So 7x plus 9 times negative 3 equals 29. So that's negative 27. I'm going to add that to get rid of it. So 29 plus 27 is 56. So 7x equals 56. Divide by 7. X equals 8. Final answer, x first, 8, negative 3. All right, down here. Okay, I can't multiply one to create the other, so I need to multiply both. Now you could do like multiply this by 6 and this by 4. But I also see 4 and 6 can both be multiplied and create 12s. And so just to keep the numbers smaller, that's what I'm going to do. But if you multiply by 6 and 4, that's fine. I also noticed that they're both negatives, so one of them needs to change. So I'm going to multiply this one by negative 3 to create a positive 12. And this one I'll just multiply by 2 and create a negative 12. So going here, that's positive 12x. This is going to be a positive 14 times 3, 42y. And this will be a negative 36 on the bottom. 2 times negative 6, negative 12x. Okay, and that's what I was going for. If you're curious, why did I pick these numbers? So that I could create a negative 12 and a positive 12. And this is going to be a negative 42y. This is going to be a positive 36. So you can start to see this is going to line up. Cancel, cancel, cancel. 0 equals 0. We have another infinite solutions answer. And we're down to our last problem. Can't make a 4 a 7, can't make a 3 a 7, so both equations need to be multiplied. Just to keep things small as possible, I'm going to use the 3 and the 7 instead of the 4 and the 7, but it doesn't matter. They both will work out. Depending on which one you multiply, you'll end up canceling your x's or canceling your y's, but it'll still all work out for you. So I'm going to multiply. Now, if you notice, these are already positive and negative, so I don't need to do any changes there. So I'm going to multiply this one by 3, which will create a positive 21. This by 7, which creates a negative 21. So I've got 3 times negative 7's negative 21x. 3 times positive 7's positive 21y. 3 times 14, 42. Down at the bottom, 7 times 4, positive 28x. times the negative 3 is negative 21y, and this was what I was going for. Positive 21 will cancel negative 21. That's why these numbers were chosen. And then, of course, 0. All right. So these are going to cancel out. That's going to leave me a positive 7x equals 42. Divide by 7, and x is 6. And when I go back, it doesn't really matter which one you plug it into. I'll just go back to the first one. So it's, well, actually, I'll go to the second one, smaller numbers. So it's 4 times x, so 4 times 6 minus 3y equals 0, so that's 24. I will minus the 24. I need to make sure I leave my negative with the 3y, and this creates a negative 24. So when I divide, I will get a positive because I've got two negatives. So y equals 8, 6, 8. Final answer.